So Berkeley, where in California are you from?
I'm from north of LA, so Westlake Village area.
You live there your whole life?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm a San Diego guy. I grew up out there,
Mm.
and we're kind of like kind of anti-LA. Do you feel that way about San Diego, or are we even snobby?
No, I love San Diego.
Okay, so it is
I'm like
okay.
I
So
wouldn't consider myself LA.
you wouldn't consider
Exactly.
yourself LA.
No, that's the like biggest city I'm closest to, but like the traffic, the
Oh yeah, the everything.
I don't associate with that.
There you go. So where have you been in San Diego? Do you vacation down there? Or is it
Um,
just like a
I've
weekend?
been down there for a couple tournaments before, like near I don't exactly know where, but if you know where the Surf Cup fields are,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, down there a bunch.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, nice. So I see you're an Ohio State girl, and I'm a Chicago Bears fan.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm a big Justin Fields guy, who was an Ohio State guy. You weren't there
Mhm.
when he was there, though, right? You're too young.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm a freshman this year, so
Oh yeah, they definitely weren't. Okay, all
yeah.
right. Well, so we can probably talk a little football today between these two programs. A little bit of history. Ohio State, Miami. Actually, one of my favorite. Scott, do you remember the national championship game between Ohio State and Miami?
I do. Yeah.
I
I
don't
was
know if
born
you.
in Columbus, man. I'm an Ohio State fan.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And this is why this podcast is going to win lots of awards. The hard hitting, questions that
Right,
we're
right.
going deep here. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about Willis McGahee and Delaney. All right.
I don't think we should do that.
Hmm. Well, we really appreciate you guys being on. It's cool. You guys have two different situations you're in right now. Berkeley, you just finished your freshman season, and Delaney,
Mhm.
you are on the way out. You're not even playing the spring, and uh, God, I just every time I hear about that, I kind of reminisce about the last goal that ended my career, and I get a little emotional again. So why don't you kick us off? Why don't you kind of give us talk about what you're doing right now that it's over and how you feel about that and what's that like and just kind of take off from there.
It's it's weird because I've played soccer like my entire life, so it's kind of all I know in my everyday. It's like school training, school training. So like now I have so much time on my hands. I have no idea what to do with myself. I have class twice a week. The other days I do nothing. So it's really weird and like being on campus and I like see all my like teammates, I'm like, wow, like it's sad, but I'm also really excited because I've like never got to experience life without it and like
Oh yeah,
all the fun things that you can't really do when you play. So it's been it's bittersweet, I would say. But
it's
Not much to
it's
do in
crazy.
Coral Gables.
yeah, no, why not?
It's it's crazy to think, Delaney, but I guess I could check the website. You might still be on there, but you are no longer on a roster. Think about it that
Yeah,
way. Like
it's crazy.
that's like ugh.
Yeah.
I kind of picked up a small. I'm 41. I picked up like a small injury. I think I was picking up a kid. I didn't do anything special here. And I was talking to my athletic trainer about it, and she used the phrase. I think it was a year ago. She goes, "Well, you're not an athlete anymore," and that was like the biggest dagger to the chest I've had. So, but
It
it's
is.
true. It's true. It
People ask me, they're
happens.
like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I used to always say I'm an athlete." And now I'm like, uh, I
Right.
don't play soccer anymore." So
Yeah.
weird.
I tell my sophomores before they leave their spring semester in the spring, so they're checking in as juniors. I say, when you check in as a junior, you have roughly 16 months left, and then you're no longer on this team. And
Mhm.
I tell them as sophomores this, and so they're kind of like it doesn't really resonate until you really hit them with that
Mhm.
timeline. You have 16 months left, and you're only a sophomore. But when you check back in, when I see you again, you have 16 months, and then I'm moving on. I got to take you off this. I got to take you off the list and move on to the next group of guys. So, yeah, it's eye opening. It's tough, but that's a really sad way to start the program. So, yeah. Why don't you talk about how about this? Let's change it up a little bit, Delaney. Why don't you talk about some of your best moments and why you chose Miami, and kind of give us your recruiting background.
So I was kind of late to the recruiting process because, I mean, I was kind of before all the rules happened of you have to wait till your junior or senior year. And so my team was getting recruited as eighth graders, freshmen. And I was like, I don't even know what college is like right now. I have no idea where I want to go. I've like absolutely no knowledge of anything. So that caused a lot of fights with my dad, just trying to figure it all out and like wanting to go play. But I kind of saw it as a blessing in disguise because I waited super, super long. And I think I committed the end of my junior year. And a lot of my friends who committed super early all transferred, weren't happy with where they were at. And so I was super excited that I waited because I did almost commit to where my parents went to school because they really wanted me to just go there. And I was like, you know what, I'll just do it. But I last minute decided I was like, let me just see Miami. I did not want to go to Florida at all. But I came and visited and like one, I fell in love with the school. I don't know if you guys have been to Miami, maybe. But like it's Miami. You got the beach, you got everything I've ever wanted. Um, and so, like, I toured, I saw all the coaches and met them, and like, I just kind of fell in love with the school. And so, I think like waiting and like actually seeing like what I wanted in the school, because my dad always told me, don't pick a school solely based off your sport. Pick it because like if you're done and you get injured, you still want to enjoy that school.
Sure.
So I like really did that instead of focusing just on the soccer aspect of it, which was definitely the best thing. So,
Yeah. Well, great. All right. Well, you
Yeah,
made an interesting comment
good
there.
advice. I'm sorry. I was just
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
chops. No. I was just giving her dad a hard time. So that's all I gotta do. Anyway.
You made an interesting comment in there. I'm going to ask you to kind of touch up on a little bit more. You don't have to use any names or any schools or anything like that, but you had mentioned that I guess you played with a lot of good players, or you knew a lot of kids that you know made a decision earlier than you. Maybe you can give me some timelines without saying names, but
Mhm.
what kind of happened to all of them? I guess you kind of leaned on a lot of them transferred, a lot of them quit, or just
Mhm.
they didn't have the career they were looking for, and you waited. And I don't know if it was on purpose or whatnot, but it ended up working out for you. So, I don't know if you could touch on that a little bit more, give us some more details.
So a lot of my friends committed to big name schools, just very like top D1, top of the rankings and whatnot. And just through freshman year, just realized that like, I mean, when you're on a club team, you're always the best of the best. And so like you think, I don't want to say you're better than everyone else, but you think that you're the top. You get to college and now you're playing with all top girls. It's not just you coming from your best club, it's like everyone. And so people don't really know that. And going into your freshman year, like, I mean, as a freshman, it's pretty rare to get a lot of playing time. Like, it's hard and you have to earn that spot. And so a lot of those girls going to these top big name schools were just pushed right to the bottom, going from starting and playing every single game in club to not. Like, it just made them like very unhappy, and they realized they just wanted to go to smaller schools where like they knew that it would be better chance of them playing and all that as well. On the other side, a lot of girls committed to schools not even knowing like what they wanted to do academically. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was a freshman, and so then they realized early that the school doesn't have the programs I need and like to be successful in what I want to do after. And so a lot of them ended up transferring from that as well. So it was many different stories, but
Well, let me ask you guys this. You could both chime in if you wanted to. So I coached girls and boys during their high school careers, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, all of them. And every single one of them from ninth to 12th grade were two different human beings, completely different people. And, I won't use this girl's name, but I had this exceptional kid. She was an awesome player. I loved her. She was a great, great kid. And she was a freshman. So she might have been, I think she was only 14. She might have been 15, but I got a phone call from a big school because they can't talk to you yet. You're only a freshman, and they want to bring her on campus. They want to show her the basketball arena, meet the coaches, and the whole 9 yards. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, you may not use this kid for 5 years. And how different are you in those 5 years? I mean, I ask my sophomores all the time, how different are you today than you were when you checked in as a freshman? And every single time they laugh. And so for you guys, how different were you from where these girls were committing as freshmen and sophomores in high school to when you were a senior? I mean, how different is just those 24 months? I mean,
yeah.
Berkeley, it's fresher for you. Kind of, how
Yeah.
different were you compared to when you were a sophomore in high school when a lot of girls were committing or
I
juniors?
mean, it's insane. Like a completely different person, I'd say. Different values, like friends, everything pretty much. And I think it's crazy how some of these schools, or for other sports at least, are going after these like eighth graders and freshmen. It's like they don't really know what they want yet. So it's insane to even like put the opportunity in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, you're just now driving a lot of times. You're like some of you are committing before you even drive, and you haven't had a job yet, and you're kind of guessing. Like, Delaney, you made a good point. They don't even know what they want to study. Maybe you want to study something, you don't figure it out till you're a senior. You committed to a school that doesn't even have that major, and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do now? All the full rides are gone, or all the
Mhm.
spots are taken. It's so early on the girls' side. Even for my guys I say my guys, the women's coaches here, two men, and they talk about how like, yeah, it's almost too late now for 25. And I'm like, man, these are junior girls. That's Division 3, and it's just wild to me. I think it's a disservice. I'd love to see some action done where you guys get to actually have some time to make a decision. I got a question for you, Delaney. So I have a good buddy that coached an awesome club team, a girls team. They won the club national title, so they were fantastic. They had a bunch of girls go Division 1, and he said that once one committed, six more committed like right away. They all freaked out, thought that they needed to commit immediately, and they just jumped on offers. Like to your point, they didn't really know. They just took the offer that they think that they like the most. And of course, they're sophomores or early junior year. And I mean, did you experience some of that?
Yeah, that exactly happened on my team. It was like one girl, and then it was like 10 more within the next month. And I was scared because I was like, oh my gosh, like everyone's committing. I have to do this right now. Like it kind of just makes you like, oh no, am I going to go to a good school? Am I going to do this? So yeah, it was rough. There was every single person in just my area was committing so fast and early on. And even there was one girl would commit to a school and then two more would commit to the same school. It's just crazy.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. Did you experience the same thing, Berkeley, with your club team?
Yeah, um, a lot to the same school as well, but also I noticed a lot of my teammates who were really good committed to kind of lower level schools just because they were frantic about it and wanted to make sure that they were secure and had a future in soccer no matter what it was, even though they could have definitely committed somewhere a little with stronger soccer.
Wow. Yeah, that's sad. I mean, it just you're just thinking about that, and you're like, okay, well, now you just created a situation where it's a much higher percentage chance of girls quitting the team, leaving the school. The transfer portal's going nuts. I mean, just unhappiness, general unhappiness, and like, I would have done it differently, and that's sad. Now you know, Delaney, you chose a place and you waited, and you're 4 years out of it, and now Berkeley. Let's rewind a little bit. Why don't you tell us your recruiting story? You traveled pretty far to go to Ohio State, so kind of give us your background and how you ended up there.
Well, I had a pretty bad injury at the end of junior year. So I kind of rushed back to get to those ECNL showcases to get some good looks, but I was not confident, not the player I was before. Um, so I was kind of freaking out a little bit. And then I made a shift and I decided to get up early, work out, get fit, everything that I needed to do. And I was having so much anxiety around recruiting that I wanted to get on a call with my mom's friend who's a sports psych, and he actually saw my highlight reel and sent that to my coach now, and
Oh,
that's how she came out to watch me on that like very last showcase surf cup actually in San Diego. And that's when they watched me, and then I flew out to an ID camp, and then a week later they offered me. So is my story was a little weird, but um, yeah, it was pretty much this also checked all my boxes, and um, I thought the level of the soccer was pretty good, and I loved the coaches, so
yeah,
it fit right for me.
that's very rare what you're talking about. I
Mhm.
mean, that's not the happenstance recruiting where we just stumble upon a video, but the fact that it was quote unquote late in the game for women's soccer, and you ended up at like Ohio State, a Power Five school, and that's awesome. But it's proof. You guys are both proof that it's your late junior year. You're a year later than your teammates that were committing, and you're very happy with where you went, and it still worked out for you, and you're in good situations. And Berkeley, you sound really happy. It sounds like Berkeley, you're going to finish and graduate from Ohio State, and your soccer career is going to be what your soccer career is. You're going to make whatever it is, and that's awesome. So that's two success stories as far as I'm concerned, and I like hearing that way more than the alternative. That's good news.
Yeah, definitely. So Berkeley, talk about like arriving on campus as a freshman. It wasn't that long ago, and well, first of all, you talked about getting up early and working and doing everything you could to get to where you wanted to go, and using a sports psychologist, and that's all like huge in investing in yourself. And talk about like what, before you get into getting on campus, talk about how all of that, what clicked in your brain to make that happen for you, and what was that process like?
I guess it just clicked in my brain that it was in my own hands. After my injury, I started taking way better care of my body, focusing on recovery, and through that I started performing better, and it kind of all just came together. Like when you work on the little pieces, it works out. So yeah, I was getting, as I had said earlier, I was getting really nervous stomach aches before every game because I was like, this is my future. Like this game right here is so important. Whoever I emailed might be out in the stands watching. So it was just like, I was freaking out. And then I talked to this guy. He gave me, his name is actually Dr. Sam Maninar. And he gave me a lot of tips to help me calm down. And through that, it also helped me perform better. And then
Cool.
I guess.
Yeah. Keep going.
Oh, I was just
If you want to add to it. Yeah.
The question about getting on campus. So we actually had to come in June. So I graduated June 1st from high school, and I was in Ohio June 5th, which is insane because all my friends got a summer, but I was here. We started conditioning and lifting right away. So by the time that season rolled around, I was already friends with all my teammates, and we already had a good bond going on.
What was the biggest difference that you noticed, when you started hanging out with kids who've been around the college game for a while, and, what struck you as the biggest difference between that and playing youth soccer?
Well, soccer-wise is just so much quicker. Everyone's also, like Delaney said, everyone's the best now. No one's bad. Everyone's good. The speed of play, super quick. Everyone's more physical, stronger, faster. And then on the mental side is like how I kind of started realizing that I needed to take care of myself. Everyone has been doing it for the whole time here. Like everyone, super important. Hydration, nutrition, recovery, sleep. Everyone values it here. But before it's kind of just like a rare thing that someone on my club team would like value it as much as some of the best players did.
Yeah, Berkeley, could you imagine, and Delaney, you too, could you imagine not changing the way that you prepared yourself mentally and physically, and your diet and your preseason fitness, all stuff, and just rolled into your two places all 4 years? I mean, are you ever getting on the field if you ever did that?
Yeah, definitely not. Like even the nutrition aspect of it, like I like think back in high school, it's like I went to high school all day and then straight to practice. Like times I wasn't getting home till 10 p.m. and I'm like, my parents aren't out making me a full dinner right now. I'm like eating cereal at 10 p.m. as my dinner. I'm like, if I did that here in college, I would not make it at practice the next day. Like it would be so bad.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I don't think we could even get through it.
No, you could.
Pass a fitness test, no way.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I tell, I'll get recruits, and sometimes their parents, like a mom, will ask me, what does little Johnny need to do to prepare? And I said, well, I really like him. I think he's going to be great here, but He's not fit enough. He's never been fit enough, and he's in great shape, but he's never been fit enough. He's never been strong enough. He's never been fast enough. He's not playing fast enough. His diet isn't going to be good enough. Nothing he's doing right now is ready to help me tomorrow. And I know it's January of your senior year, so it's time to make changes immediately. And by the way, don't neglect your studies. Don't change what you're doing, but you have to make all these changes if you want to come in and help day one. And you could tell the kids when they check in, the ones that made adjustments and the ones that are going to take their entire freshman semester, their first semester to make those adjustments. And those kids, unfortunately, never play. Some of them end up fine, but they don't play as freshmen if they don't come in with making the changes early enough.
Yeah. Delaney, kind of summarize your career and what it was like playing in Miami and the ACC, and how you guys stacked up and that whole deal.
It was quite rocky, I'm not gonna lie. Personally, I got super lucky, and when I came in, they needed a center back, and so from the start, I was really lucky, and I got to start and play 90 minutes as a freshman, which is kind of sometimes unheard of. But that was like, I think in that moment really prepared me for the whole next 4 years, because like Berkeley was saying, the speed of play and just everything, you don't realize you need to be a college athlete. Like you kind of get that going into college of like understanding it, but you don't understand it until you get that preseason time. And so being like not thrown into it, but thrown into it as a freshman of like, okay, you're playing 90 minutes. I was like, I used to play 90 minutes. This is like playing 2 games in one. Like it was rough. And so I think for me, it like really settled in of like, okay, I have this spot. I need to keep this spot. I need to work for it. And for some of my other teammates that were my year, like they didn't get that opportunity. And so mentally it became really hard for them. As for me, I think it made me stronger and like just more level headed of like, okay, I love what I'm doing now and I need to keep this. So I keep working harder. And so that really kind of put a foundation for me for the next few years. But my team, I mean, we were bottom of the ACC all 4 years. Like it was rocky, and there's so many, it's a long fold of why and whatnot. But it was hard because I was happy that I was playing, but it was hard because we were losing, and I came from a great club who won a lot and I didn't lose. So mentally that was like extremely hard, and went all 4 years of that. My junior year, I came in hurt and I lost my spot. And so junior year was probably the roughest time, honestly, of my entire career from when I started soccer. And I've never not played. So, I mean, as an athlete, like that's like bottom, like that sucks. And so I went through a really hard time then and almost wanted to give it up. Just was throwing the bag. I'm done. But of course, my dad was the only person who saved me out of it. And so I went on to finish my senior year. Still, we were bottom of the ACC, kind of growing better. But for me, I looked at it more like I was happy I was playing, and I was happy that I was out there doing what I loved. And so I look back, and as rough it was, I had a really good 4 years. But there's a lot of, I guess on my team there, I think, what am I trying to say? Sorry. I think the hardest thing with it is mentally, because even if you're playing, like we had a lot of, I don't want to say drama, but we had a lot of bad team culture, which like really structured like a very rough environment, which is something I had to like try and get over and like look through. So yeah, it's kind of a 50-50. It was a great career, but it was also like a rough time. So
Let me ask you this.
Mhm.
You came in as a junior, hurt, almost,
Mhm.
lost your spot because of that, and you guys weren't winning.
Mhm.
So now you're not playing and you're still not winning. But here you are, you're at the end. How much would you have regretted, or would you have regretted if you stepped away from the program at that time?
I would have regretted it 100%. I look back all the time. I'm like, I'm so happy I finished. At the end of my junior year, I was like, I just have one more year to get through. One more, just like, I kind of changed my mindset with it too, because during that time, my junior year, I was extremely unconfident in how I was playing because I wasn't playing. And so I was super stressed of, I have to do everything right. I have to be perfect every time I'm out on that field. And if I'm not, then it's over. And so by the end, I was like, I'm going to finish it out because I know I will be so angry if I don't. And it's only one more year. And so I kind of shifted my mindset of like, play for myself and no one else. Like, just enjoy it, be happy with it, and like, go back to when you loved soccer so much that like it was your entire life. Because my junior year, I was just done with it. And I went through the spring just doing it for myself and I ended up having a great senior career, back to starting and playing. And so I'm extremely happy I finished it because it would have been hard if I stepped away.
Yeah. You got more cheese?
Well, kind of the flip side of that. So now, Berkeley, you're a freshman, and you just heard a graduating senior say what she said about stepping away from the program, possibly when things weren't going too well. So, what does that mean to you? Kind of what did that strike in your mindset with, you know, moving forward? Let's say you run into some hiccups. Let's say the team doesn't do that well, or you lose your spot, or you fall down the depth chart. Whatever it is, whatever adversity is thrown your way, and all of a sudden in the back of your mind, just step away. Who cares? You're at a great school. Just step away. There's plenty to do here other than play soccer. But you just heard Delaney also say like, "Oh, I would have regretted that." So what did that mean to you? What does it strike inside you?
Um, well, it makes total sense because even in my 1 year here so far, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and I think that that's going to carry throughout all 4 years. But I think that's what also makes student athletes kind of special is that they have to like weather all these challenges and fight through it, and they and like Delaney, who's like badass, did it, and not everyone can. So it just makes me, I guess, motivated, and I'm ready to see what happens, and I'm ready to see if I can handle it because it's already been crazy.
Well, Delaney leaned on people. So she talked to people. Her dad kind of was in her ear saying, "Hey, come on, you can do this." And so, you know, uh, like kind of talk about Delaney. I want to shift back over to Berkeley. What they did, who it was. Like, was it just because I trust these people? I love the advice they're giving me. Worst case scenario, I'm going to at least try what they tell me to do. I mean, kind of, why did you stick it out? What advice was brought to you, and why did you take it?
I think ultimately, like, my dad played a huge role in it. Of my dad has three daughters, and he obviously played college football, and so I was the closest thing to a boy he could get of playing sports and being like tomboy and whatnot. So soccer kind of became his whole life too, and like it was something special that we shared together. And so, for one, I think just seeing how proud he was of me playing and making it this far, and like through all the hard things I went through trying to get to where I was. Um, and so part of me was like, wow, I want to do this for him. But then he also, through talking to him that entire season, it was like he was bringing back all the good memories that I did have and that all the hard things I went through but overcame. And I think it just started to realize, like, in me that I have one more year. And I mean, in that moment, a year seems like 10. Looking back, it was not even a month. Like, it flew by so fast. And so I just knew I could push through one more year, and maybe it would be better, maybe it'd be worse. But at the end, I could be like, I finished that and I did that. And so I think my dad just really put a huge role in me of just, you can stick it out and it might be the best, it might be the worst, but you can say you did it. And so I'd say he played a huge role. I think also during that time, you can just, like, it's hard and mentally it's very hard. So I started talking to people and a psychiatrist of just, what do I do to get through this? And so they kind of turned to me of, find the good in it, because when you're going through these hard things, you're dwelling on the bad and the worst, but you don't realize that, like, okay, sometimes I'm out there and I am enjoying it and I'm doing what I love. And so just focusing on, like, I wanted to do this. I wanted to play college sports. I wanted to finish it out. And so just reassuring, like, people reassuring that you want to do this and this is why you're here.
I'm sure you had some tight relationships on the team too, and it's more than just X's and O's and winning games. And like I talk to people all the time about our locker room and our alumni, and when we're together as alums, we have a wedding next month. I'm looking forward to it because this is the first wedding in that group of guys that I'm going to go to, and it's going to happen again. I'm going to be around them. You're going to hear all their laughs and conversations, and of course, it's going to be open bar, so they're going to be getting excited. And I guarantee you, they don't even talk about the soccer. Not
Mhm.
once will they talk about the soccer. It just and it didn't matter if we were good or not. Like they just won't do it. They love being around each other, and so that's great. That's great what you just said there, Delaney. So Berkeley, kind of, who do you lean on? Do you have people in your life that can play that same role? And kind of what advice are they giving you right now as a freshman?
My mom for sure has been with me throughout this whole recruiting process and this whole year, and she always like kind of like Delaney said, like reminds me of why I'm here. Like I do love it. She'll send me like a little photo of me when I was little playing soccer. Like that's why I'm here for her. And also, I always think of my little sister who plays. She plays volleyball, but she's also trying to play D1. And I think of how grateful I am that did. I had the potential to reach here, and I am here. And I look at my facilities and everything I'm given, and I'm like, okay, this is amazing. Like,
Hmm.
take advantage of it while you're here. Don't wish it away.
Yeah, I tell look, every roster in the country has somebody unhappy. I mean, unless you have a roster of 11 and you win every single game you play, you're going to have somebody going like, oh, I should be starting or I should be playing more or the coach isn't good to me. Whatever it is, I've heard it all, I've seen it all, and I can definitely at least see it from their
See it
lens. I
from
was
there.
a player myself, so you can kind of tell that stuff. But I always tell these kids when they come in my office, I'm like, well, what's the worst case scenario if you do your best every single day, you stick it out, and you give everything you've got every day to the people in the locker room. The people, like, you came here for a reason. You love these guys, or in your case, you love their teammates, love the girls. So, what's the worst case scenario when you're 40 years old and you're talking to your kids? The worst case scenario is going to be, well, yeah, daddy or mommy, I didn't play that much, or we may not have won that much, but I gave everything I've got. I love it. I have forever friendships because of this. I'm going to be going to a bunch of weddings, and my kids are going to interact with their kids, and I mean, it's so much bigger than soccer, and you're getting so much more of it, more out of it than just playing on the field and kind of staying fit for 4 years. I mean, it's so much more to it than that, and a lot of us don't realize it until you're 3, 4 years removed, and you're like, oh God, like we talked about earlier, Delaney, I'm not on a roster anymore. I have bills now. What's this taxes stuff? Which it's got its tax season. We got to get our stuff in line. And, it's just the world's going to change dramatically. And I've seen a lot of kids that have stepped away from programs like ours, and they'll come up to me and say like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I wish I'd stuck it out 1 year, and it wasn't as bad as what I was making out in my head. And I loved the guys that I was with. And, that's why I asked you the regret question. I'm glad you said what you said. I do believe that most of the people that step away, even if it's totally justified and they're truly unhappy, I get it. There's always going to be a little something inside like, I could have done it. I could have done it. Even if I didn't play or even if we didn't win, I could have done it. And so it's good to hear that you battled through that. It's good to hear that you have a great support system. And I think everybody should definitely have people that they can lean on and at least vent to. I still do that to my wife. She has to hear it on bad road trips home. I'm like, oh, I need a new job, like, but she talks me off the ledge, and I get back to work the next day. So it's always good to have people like that.
Yeah, I want to touch on the mental health side of things, and it's become a pretty hot topic, especially in sports, and it's not as I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but it doesn't seem to be as much of a stigma in women's sports as it is in men's sports, and you both have indicated that you've relied on those resources, and without getting into private things, obviously, just, how was it helpful, and, where did it kind of, what was the point A, and how did you get to point B, so to speak, by working with those types of professionals? Berkeley, you want to go
Um,
first? Oh, sorry, Delaney, you're getting ready to go. Go ahead.
um, I was just gonna say, I think I'm. It's kind of hard, like being coming in as a freshman, and you have my class was, I want to say 10. And so for me, I got super lucky in that I was a starter and I played, but my roommate was the exact opposite and she didn't get a single minute. And so I found that like she had a tough time talking to me and I had a tough time talking to her about it because we're both on like, I'm super happy, but she's not okay. And that's hard for me to try and be there for her because I don't know what she's going through. And so just seeing that, like, I think it's quite difficult for girls on the team to talk to each other, especially like if we're all the same position, you're fighting for that girl's position and, you know, she's trying to keep it. So I think it gets really tough in trying to talk to your teammates, even as close as you are. And so I think turning to psychiatrists or mental health coaches, which I'm so happy nowadays, like it's getting to the point where it is everyone's doing it and it shouldn't be a stigma or an issue or anything to talk to someone else because you need someone outside of your team and your resources that's like knows the ins and all of it on your team to just let it out and talk to them and just learn other ways to cope. um, my team actually had a mental health coach we met with every single week to just help because it's hard. So,
Yeah, I agree completely. You need those friends that aren't on the team to talk about everything that's going on within the team because you need kind of like an outside looking in because when you're in, it's it's a little intense and heated if you talk to, like Delaney said, someone who maybe is getting less time than you or more time. It's just a little uncomfortable and awkward because everyone's fighting for the same thing. So I agree totally. Having that person is really helpful.
Yeah, we have a an alum that became he's a sports psychologist. He's in Stanford right now working, and I basically hit him one day with the opposite of that. Just like why I just tried to be the devil's advocate of this and just try to get more detail out of it. And I wasn't anti sports help or anything like that, but I wanted to really like hit him and see what he says. And he said one thing that just struck me right to my core. And he said, well, like if I talk to one of your guys, I'm coming from a place where I don't care about, if he's on the field or not. I don't care if you guys win or not. I just care about him. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't think about that. Because one of my questions had to do with like, why don't they just come talk to me? And it's like, well, yeah, you're the coach. You're the one that is seeing if you're going to use him to win the next game. And I don't care about any of that stuff. I just care about the person and how he's doing it internally. And I'm like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. And it's the same thing. Who I rely on. I rely on my wife or a couple of buddies, and they don't care about anything other than making sure I'm okay. So I totally understand. I totally understand what you guys are talking about. The people that you rely on, they care about who you are internally, and it's just amazing to have good people like that that you could just ring up at any time. It's just awesome to have.
Yeah, another thing that your friend talked about, Cheese, he was on this podcast, was like hanging your whole identity on the sport that you play rather than realizing that you're a totally other person outside of the sport you play. And Berkeley, I mean, as you were like pursuing becoming a college athlete, I mean, did you like totally identify as I'm a soccer player and whatever else can just kind of, I'm not going to worry about that, and this is who I am? Or did you kind of have the wherewithal to realize that I'm more than just Berkeley the soccer player?
I'm not gonna lie. I would probably soccer is like I've played it since I was like 8 years old, and it's always been a part of my identity heavily. And I think that was one of the reasons why I was so nervous around college recruiting when it wasn't going my way. I was like, I'm gonna lose this huge part of me, and I'm still struggling with that. Like to this day, trying to separate myself. Like I'm not soccer. Soccer is not me. So I think yeah, just like finding other hobbies. Because when I would get asked like, "What are your hobbies in high school?" So I'm like, I don't have any other hobbies but soccer. It takes up all my time. But yeah, I think that's super important for athletes to have. They are not their sport. Their sports are not them, and I think that it needs to be a little better in general because a lot of my friends who are athletes are the same way. It's like almost consuming.
Mm.
Yeah. And Delaney, you're like if you hadn't before, you're coming to grips with it right now. When when did it kind of click for you that you're not just Delaney the soccer player?
I mean, it still is kind of hard. I think like we had a mental health coach, and I think about last year, he actually asked us and was like, "Who are you guys?" And everyone writes, "Oh, I'm a soccer player." And he's like, "No, but like actually, who are you guys?" And like my entire team just kind of sat there and froze. We're like, I don't know. Like, and that was like my biggest thing. And I still am like struggling with like, I don't have soccer anymore. And it kind of still is in that area of it doesn't feel real. I kind of just feel like I'm on a break right now. But like, I still struggle. I'm like, I don't know what I am. I don't know, like, trying new things. Like, I never got the time to try other things and like other things. So I'm like, I feel like I'm in this area of like, I'm trying to figure out who I am outside of it. So it's weird. It's a weird time.
Let me ask you this: do you think if you can go back and do stuff over again, what would you do during your breaks? I mean, what's something that maybe you could tell Berkeley, like, hey, I didn't do this. I mean, kind of jumping in here, Berkeley, you checked in from your crazy, chaotic schedule of a high school kid living under mom and dad's roof to now you're go, 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 go because you're in a fall season. You're kind of now in your first weird time of your college life. It's like, all right, I'm in season, but these games don't count and we don't practice as much as we did in the fall. It's kind of like not crazy at all. So, Delaney, you can kind of rewind a little bit. How would you have treated some of your off time differently? So maybe you could have some more answers to what the next phase of your life would look like.
Hmm. Definitely for spring, like fall is crazy. So you have no time.
Right.
But in the spring, like do everything you can, go to basketball games. Like that's like one of the biggest things me and my teammates did. We were like, be as normal student as we can. And like there was times I was like, oh, there's a basketball game at night and I practice early in the morning. I'm gonna be exhausted. But like I was kind of like, I'm still gonna go because you want to look back and be like, I also lived my college life. Like I got to experience everything that other people didn't do. And so I think I was really good at that. However, I wish I was like, there were times I was like, I have practice tomorrow. I don't want to go to like dinner with my friends or something. And I wish I had done that just because I made an excuse a lot of, oh, I have soccer, but really it's, you don't. You're also a student. You should go enjoy things, go do clubs at your school, like join all those things. So I don't regret it, but I kind of regret that I didn't take full advantage of it. So
So Berkeley, obviously you're in your spring semester. You're away from home. You are going. Are you going back home uh, after the semester?
Yeah.
What are you doing for those few months before you have to come back?
We only get 1 month because we come so early in the summer, and it's
Goodness.
the month of May. And honestly, we're gonna be playing right up until then. So resting my body and my mind before we go back in the summer and start workouts again. But yeah.
Geez, that's a tough one. Well, have you thought about maybe studying abroad or picking up, an internship in the area or something like that so you can expand and see other things?
In the summer, my we have this thing called Bucks Go Pro, which is where after practice and stuff you can go do an internship, and it's through the school and it's through student athletics. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to apply for one of those, and um, yeah, I think that would be really cool because in the summer we have a lot of free time after workouts, which are just strictly in the morning. We have other time to be a
Sure.
student, like Delaney said, be a normal person.
Well, I think you touched on something important there. I'm sure there are Buckeye alums and Hurricane alums all over the country that
Mhm.
would love to hear, like, hey, there's a soccer player that's interested in doing what you're doing. I know that if a kid reaches out to me that used to go to Christopher Newport and wanted to talk, I'm taking the phone call every time. And so that's cool. You have those connections, and I hope that you explore them. And Berkeley, I hope that you're taking a ton from this conversation and saying like, all right, I need to maybe add a few things or adjust a few things moving forward. You definitely want to graduate and kind of not have it all planned. Be honest with you, you'll never have it all planned. So be ready for that part. But at least have sign. You don't want to be sitting there wondering like, oh, I should have done something differently, or or I don't have anything lined up. You don't want to sit in that situation. And so I think that that's where the advice here is coming from. I know Scott and I wouldn't mind being back in your shoes again. So maybe Delaney wouldn't mind a 4-year reset as well. So
Delaney, why did you choose to, and this may be too personal of a question, but not to take your last year of eligibility?
I went back and forth with it for a while, but I want to go to nursing school, and I started my junior year in the nursing school here at Miami, and that was like the hardest semester of my entire life because they're that's demanding, and then you have soccer, which is extremely demanding, and it was just too much for me. So I ended up stopping that and switching majors. So I'd like to go straight back into nursing school, and I knew I couldn't do it with soccer. And so I could put it on a break and do it, but I was hurt the end of my senior year, and I just kind of came to terms that my body is quite retired. I'm hurting. So there's times though I do kind of look and I'm like, should I just play one more year? Because why not? Like, not everyone gets that extra year of eligibility, which like my class is super lucky because of it. But part of me is ready to move on.
Yeah. So you're still kind of on the fence.
Yes, but I think it might be too late.
You don't want to break news here that you're coming back.
There's nights I go to bed, I'm like, I should just do it. Like a lot of my friends are doing it, and so it's kind of hard. But I also like I'm so close with all my teammates. I talk to them all the time, and they just ran like the fitness test the other week. I'm like, I don't even think I could run a mile right now. Like, I am so out of shape. So
yeah, it has to be a tough decision. Yeah.
what are you studying?
I'm a psych major.
What do you want to do with that?
I'm actually kind of interested in sports psych a little bit. I'm not 100% sure, but after talking to this sports psychs, I think it's really interesting, and I think it's really awesome.
Yeah. Well, we can connect you with our guy.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, definitely.
What type of nurse do you want to be?
I'd love to work in pediatrics. So.
Like the NICU or?
Honestly, anywhere. It's wherever it's demanded for PICU, NICU, just anything. Honestly, I love kids, and I just want to work with kids. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my wife's a nurse, and she was in the surgical ICU, and I always asked her, why don't you want to go to the NICU? Because we have awesome kids and we love them. And she was always kind of hesitant to tell me. And then our third baby rolled in, and right after he was born, they immediately grabbed him and took him to the NICU, and he was in there for 11 days. And my wife kind of looked at me and she goes, "This is why I'm not working in the NICU." And so you have to have a certain stomach for that, of course. But
yeah, everyone always says you go in wanting to be a pediatric nurse and you come out and you don't want to do it because it is very hard.
Yeah. So. I mean, my wife's amazingly smart, and I hope my kids take after her with that regard. But that's a tough lifestyle, and hats off to you guys.
Yeah, we should all hope they take after your wife.
Oh my god! One of them, I can already tell. I'm like, that's mine. He's got my brain. That's not going to go well. He'll be fine. I'll go.
Be fine. So Delaney, you have any other advice to leave to this kind of group coming in behind you, and any other nuggets that you'd leave as you walk away?
Don't wish it too fast. Like, there's going to be so many hard moments because college sports, but kind of like embrace it. Like, take those hard moments and don't dwell on them, but learn from them, because it's not going to be easy at all. And I'd say take advantage of every moment, because like I look back and 4 years flew by. Like, I do not feel like it should be over. Like, it literally went so fast, and there's times I feel like I was just in fight or flight mode and I was just trying to survive through it, instead of like really like embracing that like this is like every single game, like it's amazing, and you really only play 20 some games a season, and so just take advantage of everything and just really embrace it and be with your teammates. So
yeah, Berkeley, have you guys worked on like being present and that sort of thing, like Delaney's talking about?
Yeah, my
Your
coach
sports
talks
like
about that a lot. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty important. Um,
Hey, have either one of you, you're at big schools, so NIL is a real thing. I mean, what are your experiences with it? Do you have anything you want to plug while you're on here? Do you have any NIL stuff that you want to talk about, or what basically is it like at your place? I mean, I'm sure you have some athletes rolling around there, like, oh, how much is that car? I mean, wow, you're making more money than you will when you go pro. So, kind of, what are your experiences with it, and what's it like at your place?
Miami in the beginning did not do well with it because it's very hard and state by state rules in the beginning. So like it was difficult. But my dad got into the whole NIL space and is still into it, so he's very big on it. And so he pushed me to do a lot of it. And in the beginning, I was like, I don't really want to do this. I don't want to post this on my social media and whatnot. But then I started getting deals, and I was like, wow, like we can really make a lot of money through this. And I mean, I don't know, it's different for everyone, but like I was never able to have a job growing up because soccer consumed my whole life. And so I never could make money. And I was like, this is such an easy way to do it. And I'm just about to be done with a year campaign with Brooks Running, which is something I never thought I would do, but I've like it's kind of like a mini job I just never got.
Mm.
So I'd say take full advantage of it. Like it's such a great opportunity now for athletes to be able to make money and like use their name and do all these things.
Delaney, I know a little bit about this because I've talked to your dad about it, but like, what was your process to land deals? What was your method to get those signed on?
For a while in the beginning, I emailed every single company that I liked and was just like, I'm a student athlete. I'd love to partner. And that just did absolutely nothing. Like, literally did not work. And I stumbled across, I don't know what it is, like this business called 98 Strong who like gives student athlete deals. And I was like, okay, I applied for I think one with like a drink brand and I got it and I was like, oh, this is easy. And then I saw the Brooks thing and I'm like, I'll apply to that. And then I got that. I was like, okay, so now I need to just find these platforms that help athletes. And I don't know if it's the same at your school, Berkeley, but we used I forget what it's called. It's like a platform that like helps give athletes deals too. Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
Oh
I'm not
wait.
sure, but
Is it
it like
Open
just
Doors or Open
yes,
Doors?
open. And
Yeah,
so I would scroll on that, and I'd find things, and I would just pick like ones that weren't too consuming, but just easy to do. So and build my platform through that. I started small and then got big. So
cool. Berkeley, what's been your experience? What's it like at Ohio State?
Um, the football players, it's insane. Like cars, um, like so much money is just there. It's insane. But for my team, not a lot of people have those NI deals, but I think they're a really good idea. Like Delaney said, I think they're awesome, and I definitely do want to start getting into that. I haven't really yet, but it's a pretty big deal at my school. We have a bunch of Nike athletes and sick things like that. The football team is spoiled, as you guys can imagine, but yeah, I definitely do want to start getting into that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, they're gonna. Some of them might take a pay cut when they leave school. So yeah. Um, well, cool. Cheese. What else you got? Anything?
No, that was great. I love the information. We kind of dug into a few things there that I think we got more detail than we would normally get. So that was awesome. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. Berkeley, you have anything else?
No, thank you guys so much for having me. It was awesome.
Yeah, you were great. Delaney, anything else?
no, thank you guys.
You sure you don't want to break news and say you're coming back to play one more year? How
Surprise.
happy would your dad be?
My my dad would be so happy. He's already booked his flights to come back and watch my team this spring, next spring. At my senior night, he asked who he could opt for on my team. He is I think it's hit him harder than it hit me. He is sad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I know that to be true too. So it's tough. So yeah, my son he's going to take his 5th year. So he's the same age as you. So I get 1 more year. So, um, I'll just invite your dad to come watch Augie with me.
perfect.
Yeah.
He needs something.
Yeah. Yep. All right, ladies, I really appreciate it. Cheesy, anything else?
No, best of luck, Delaney, and what the future holds for you, especially in the nursing school. That's going to be a bear. So best of luck to you. And then Berkeley, you got 3 years left. So enjoy it, eat it up, go win some conference championships, and make a big run. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys so much. It was nice to meet you all.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you. Hold on one sec. I'll
Yes.
just hit